It's 8:30 Eastern Time, the only time zone that did not pardon a turkey this week, and that means it's time for C2C Live, brought to you by CampusToCanton.com. That's Matt Bruening, that's Chris K, and I'm Austin Nace. On a thankful version of tonight's show, what else were we really going to say in there? You know, it's topical. The coaching carousel continues. The dreaded vote of confidence for several coaches going into 2026. We discuss the latest rendition of the CFP playoff rankings, all that and more on the other side of the stinger. What's up, everybody? Like the show, subscribe, do all that stuff. We're thankful you guys are tuning in with us here. I think this might be the first year, maybe ever, we've done a live night before Thanksgiving show. Does that sound right to you, Mr. Bruening? You're the C2C Live historian. He's also muted, but
or he's just being funny. No, he's muted.
Still muted.
No, I was muted. I muted myself before the video, and then I forgot to unmute me. No, it was technically not C2C Live, but we were live, I believe, the very first year with Debbie Debate, you, me, and Felix, because we did a whole, like, what are we thankful for back in Felix's days of, like, wearing the white tank top on the shows with our unprofessional cameras. I think we were kind of getting into the groove of things. But we've done at least one, if not two, live Thanksgiving show, or days before Thanksgiving.
Okay, all right. I think this is probably our fifth trip around the sun here on this. We'll just hop right into some of the topics that we have here for tonight. I guess we'll lead off with the job that we know that's confirmed, or at least it seems like it's confirmed. Eric Morris, head coach of North Texas. Sounds like he's taking the job at Oklahoma State next year. Reportedly going to stay at North Texas through the end of the season, whatever that looks like for them. They are still obviously in play for the one of the kind of final automatic qualifier spots in the CFP playoff. Good hire, Chris. Start that. I think that's the first question.
It feels like a great fit, right? Like it feels so natural. Just the offensive system. We've kind of seen it at Oklahoma State with Gundy, just like spread them out and chuck it. Like that type of stuff feels like it's a good fit. It feels like a good fit for the players that he has and potentially wants to bring. So it's almost like, all right, like I'm going to a spot that I can bring my guys that I know and trust, and it doesn't feel like it's going to be overwhelming to them. So yeah, I think it's a great fit. I mean, Big 12 is a great transition for a G5 coach with like kind of I don't want to say funky system, but like a little bit more of a unique system that is, I don't know, maybe considered a little bit more gimmicky than your typical offensive system. So yeah, I think it's a great fit.
Matt, you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting fit. I mean, as Chris mentioned, I think moving from the G5 to the Big 12 is probably an easier move than going to, like, say, the Big 10 or the SEC. I do think that Oklahoma State fans are going to like that offense. Well, I don't disagree with Chris. It is a little bit gimmicky. We've seen kind of Mike Gundy is stuck with, I would say not an archaic, but a little bit of like an older version offense with just the running and everything, where if he does bring Drew Mestamaker, Caleb Hawkins, all those guys with him, I'll be very curious to see if that translates to the Big 12. Again, what is it like Utah? BYU's defense hasn't been bad this year, but like realistically, what teams are you looking at? That Texas Tech's defense obviously has been really good this year. I mean, you've got 3 or 4 defenses in the Big 12 that maybe could really slow them down, but should be a really good offense, should at least give Oklahoma State fans something to be excited about. My main thing was as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, RIP to my boy Hoss Haney. I wonder if he's going to be hitting the portal this offseason, especially if Mestamaker's coming. But yeah, I think it could be a very interesting hire for Oklahoma State. And if the offense does end up working out for them there, if he brings those guys, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I think, that kind of feeds into question number 2, which is, do we think how many of these North Texas guys do you think have a chance to go with him here? And how quick of a rebuild do you think this is for Oklahoma State? A storyline that's kind of faded over the course of the season, just how bad they've been for a P4 team this season.
I think, I mean, if you're a player, right, like if you're Hawkins or Young or Mestamaker, all those guys, like you would strongly consider it, right? But I think at least Mestamaker and Hawkins will have a pretty big list of teams that'll be considering him. So it's more a matter of like who's going to throw the most money at him. It's really interesting if you look back at last year's players that transferred into the Big 12 or where, P4, like Reggie Virgil and some of these guys made like $800K, $900K, $1 million. And now Texas Tech will throw $1 million at anybody, but like it feels like a market that's great for receivers because you see a bunch of them transfer into interesting spots and make a good bit of money. And sometimes like Isaiah Sategna went to Oklahoma. I'm sure he made a good bit amount of money and he didn't do anything at Arkansas, right? So like I feel like there's always an option there for him. So it's just a matter of who's going to throw the most money at him. And does Caleb Hawkins care that he's going to go to his old coach when he can make twice as much maybe somewhere else?
Somewhat local Hawkins, I think it's worth noting. I read that he lives like, I grew up like half an hour away from Stillwater, something like that. So
I think Nate said like 40 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's from that perspective, could be appealing to him at least as well, you would think.
Yeah. In terms of turnaround, I mean, this defense is still the defense, right? I think they're one of the bottom 10 scoring defenses in the country. Does that change? I just pulled up their schedule for next year, and it's not really all that easy. It's Oregon, you get Houston, Arizona State, Kansas State, Texas Tech. Like, I don't know. It's not like the Big 12 is a bunch of murderers row, but like, they do play teams that'll be ranked. So it's not like they're going to be avoiding them like Indiana of 2 years past type thing or last year.
Is this the first you lose by a lot, then you lose by a little, then you win by a little, then you win by a lot? This is a 3 to 4 year process, you think, for Oklahoma State? I think you can do it in 2.
I think 2 years. Yeah, still the Big 12. Big 12 is as funky as it gets, right? Like, I mean, look at Fritz over at Houston. How like they were miserable last year, and they were really, really good this year. I from what they how they handled things, and I think expectations, they crushed it. So I think it's the Big 12, which is really anybody's ball game every year. There's always a funky team or two, right, that can put you over the top and make you an 8-9 win team.
There are some lighter teams in that conference too that you got. Colorado. What do they look like next year? The Arizona schools in any given week. I mean, there's quite a few that depending on the year aren't amazing. So yeah, I think that Matt, how long do you think 2 years they should give them at least to be okay, to be average there?
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 years. I mean, the one thing I will say with Morris is he's done a really good job. Something, I've mentioned before, we were talking about maybe him going to a better P4 job than Oklahoma State, was what he's been able to do with quarterbacks. I don't necessarily worry about, even if he doesn't get Mestamaker, going into the portal and getting the quarterback that fits that system. I think Morris knows what he needs and what kind of quarterback he's going to want for that. And again, I think with Oklahoma State, if you get a couple wide receivers in there, again, I understand that system may be gimmicky, but if he's able to kind of get it working, I think that they could honestly turn that around in possibly 2 years. Like maybe next year they're at least somewhat competitive, and then the year after that they are a team that's competing maybe for a Big 12 championship. At the end of the day, I don't think Oklahoma State needs to play really good defense if they can keep up with everybody on the offensive side of the ball. So
one thing I will say, it feels like a spot that's going to be ripe for a potential reclamation project, QB, if Mestamaker doesn't follow him. I bet he's already thinking about keeping Haney there if it looks like Mestamaker is not going to be an option. I bet that will be an option that he seriously considers for QB next year. Just throwing that out there.
What is Haney like as a passer?
I would love it.
I mean, I don't think we know. Coming out of high school, he actually was pretty good. I mean, this year was kind of all over the place in the 6 quarters that we got of him or whatever. Was it even 6 quarters? Did we even get a full game on him? I think we did. I think we got like a game and a half. I don't know.
Yeah, he played.
It's a good question.
He played a full game.
So, I don't know.
I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly, he was high 60% completion percentage in high school. It was like the 65-ish, 66 range. I don't remember him being bad as a passer. He was fairly good that final year, like that senior season. He was I believe he took Alito to a Texas state championship. So he was fairly good overall. And again, I think with what Morris has done with this, he's not going to be Cam Ward or, I haven't watched a ton of Drew Mestamaker to tell you how good of a passer he's been. I know he's putting up a ton of stats and everything, but I think if Haney stays, he could be a lot of fun there for that quarterback.
Well, a job that doesn't sound like it's been officially confirmed yet, but there's been a lot of smoke today, is Alex Golesh, the USF head coach, potentially heading to Arkansas to take that opening. I mean, Golesh has done a really good job at USF. They kind of bottomed out there for a few years. He's brought them back. Was on kind of the precipice of maybe making the playoff this year, if maybe a couple of bounces go their way. Same question. Like, this is a good hire for Arkansas if this comes to fruition, Chris?
Probably. I don't know. It's just a tough landscape for a team like Arkansas. Just like Virginia Tech, some of these schools, you don't really have a ton of great options, because once Lane Kiffin is determined what he's doing, like, these schools there's a lot more schools that are better than you. So it's like your options are fairly thin. I think if you're an Arkansas fan, you're probably pretty happy. He's like kind of the cool name, but I feel like he's lost his luster a little bit year over year. And I don't think he's necessarily bringing his quarterback. So there's a little bit of Matt and I were talking about it like pre-show, and to an extent, why would he take the Arkansas job? It feels like he's just going to go there and get beat up and be gone in 3 years. But at the same time, too, if you're Arkansas, it feels like the best you can do, all things considered.
If you have an even slightly below average defense there over the past few years, how good is Arkansas?
I mean,
two more wins a year?
Easily. They've lost so many games by one possession. I think they've lost 5 or 6 games by one possession, something like that. So, but what are they going to have returning next year? They're not going to have their top receiver, running back, or quarterback. So they'll have to do a complete rehaul, which in this day and age you can, but it'll be a completely new offense.
Well, I mean, what was it like? Was it 2 or 3 years ago that Arkansas was in the playoff discussion for a while with Pittman? I mean, Pittman was the savior of Arkansas. Maybe it was a little bit longer than 3 years ago. It might have been 4, but Arkansas had a good season not too long ago. I think my biggest fear with Golesh going there is does this just become a junior varsity Tennessee? Because they run a very similar offense. Now, the one thing I will say with Golesh going to Arkansas that could help them is there's a lot of reports that they do have a fairly decent NIL backing. They just kind of pulled that of late because they didn't believe in Pittman. So maybe they get all those people buying back in, and they're able to help bring in players in the portal and better recruits to kind of make this team better. Again, I don't know that Byron Brown, if he goes over to Arkansas, he's probably a version of Taylon Green. I don't know if they're going to run the same offense. Obviously, I would assume it's going to be more of Golesh's offense, but is that going to be that kind of, whatever? What is it that Heupel runs? It's the veer and shoot, right? Or is it the run and shoot offense that he runs?
Spread them super wide. And
I would imagine going to be some kind of version of that. Yeah, I just don't know what that's going to look like for him, because I don't know that Arkansas is going to be I can't imagine Arkansas flipping a Tristan Keys in the near future like Tennessee did, where that's going to, in essence, I don't know that you change the programs right way I want to put it, but he is such a good receiver. He's going to be really good for them in that offense. So it's going to help Tennessee's offense. I just think that Golesh going there, the ceiling is probably capped. And if he's not turning Arkansas around, I think he could have a very similar Pittman career where he has 1 or 2 good seasons to start off because the offense is fun, exciting. And then if they get down into what they are now, where they're only getting 4 wins, then he's out the door and he's lost his chance, I think, to really capitalize on the small momentum he has right now with what he's done with USF, which is why I think it's kind of a bad idea for him to go here. But, again, maybe as me and Chris were talking pre-show, maybe if USF has a bad year next year, he kind of loses all of his momentum, so he doesn't even get a shot at a job like this. So I guess I kind of get it.
The sleeping giant and all that kind of stuff, I think is kind of crap when you talk about a lot of these schools. But I don't know. I mean, Arkansas, they're one of those schools that you can go on a run every 3 or 4 years. You probably can't do it every year unless you just get insanely lucky with some sort of coaching hire. But I mean, you look back of really since 2000. I mean, they've got a handful of 9-win seasons, a couple of 10-win seasons, an 11-win season in there. This is a job that I think you can do that every couple of years, and I think that he is the kind of guy that's equipped to to potentially bring them to that level. I don't know. I mean, you just said, I don't know that they can flip a Tristan Keys, but think about Tennessee and what they've realistically had at wide receiver before they flipped Tristan Keys. I mean, I know some of these guys have had the stars, but we've talked about it. Like, it's extremely one-dimensional guys. And I will say, I don't think Golesh's offense is like it is definitely derived from, but they're not as, super wide splits, keeping guys off the line of scrimmage, keeping guys clean, just, running a couple of routes, a couple of different concepts, throw it to space. Like, I think he's a little more, I don't want to necessarily say pro style, because I definitely think like the QB run is a little bit more of his scheme. They run the ball a little bit less than I think Tennessee does overall. So I don't like, I think being down there in the South, you're around to some of those athletes. You'll get some of those athletes. I think if they do end up getting this backing that has been promised allegedly, and everybody's going to have 20 million-ish to work with, I would assume Arkansas will be one of those schools that has that, like, that uses that whole chunk of change in the SEC to fund their team. I think this is a team that can be right around 500 and then every few years have a 9 or 10 win season, spike.
You need the schedule to line up.
Yeah.
With like a good, maybe senior, focused team or a quarterback that lines up with a good schedule. It's not going to be next year. I can tell you that, because this schedule is brutal. At Utah, they play Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, at Auburn, at A&M, at Texas, at Vandy. But there's not a lot of gimmies in that one. Not a lot of gimmies in that schedule.
Well, I mean, what you just mentioned, Austin, that's probably it's funny that you read off, some of the seasons that they've had in the past. Like, if we were in the 12-team playoff back then, they're probably in the playoffs most of those years that you mentioned. So, I mean, I do think that there is a chance. Like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin. Obviously, there's rumors of him going to all different kinds of schools and everything. So, like, maybe Arkansas is able to kind of fill that void if he leaves. That Ole Miss drops off as being one of those teams that is able to do that, as you mentioned, every couple of years. And I do think if, say, in year 2 or 3 at Arkansas, he gets him to the playoff, that's going to buy him more time at this job and allow him to stay around a little bit longer. So I don't think it's crazy. Maybe I just have an inflated sense of what I think Alex Golesh is, because we've talked about him for some of these other jobs. I just worry that, like, if it doesn't work out for him here at Arkansas, he doesn't really get a shot at a decent P4 job in the near future because of it.
I mean, if they don't choke that Memphis game away, I don't know that the shine has come off of him. Because they're probably still the favorite for the American playoff spot, or at least to make the championship game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tough to say. Over under 4 wins for Arkansas next year if Alex Golesh goes there, or if Alex Golesh doesn't go there. I mean, you just read off the schedule.
I would bet under 4.5.
Yeah.
I mean, they have basically 2 non-cons they can win, and then they'd have to beat like a Tennessee or like a Missouri or something like that to get over 4.5.
Yeah, I would say under as well. With the schedule that Chris just read off, I think right now, given everything we know about Arkansas, again, not really knowing what that team's looking like Chris said, all the players that they have walking out the door at the end of this year, I would probably say under right now.
And you are losing, like, you mentioned your wide receiver 1, your RB1, your QB1. Like, I don't know, outside of maybe Talon, that like any of those guys that you're like, oh, like, how do we replace this guy? We might not have a contingency plan in place here. I mean, Mike Washington's a solid running back. He's not, doing Ahmad Hardy stuff out there every week. In terms of like other SEC running back, I don't know. I don't know that the losses of the RB1, the wide receiver 1 there, are going to damn you too much. And I think there's going to be a lot of QBs in the portal this year too. I'm interested to see, last year we talked, it was a very thin year in the portal if you needed a QB. I think this year is going to be a really, really deep, strong one with all the coach movement and stuff. They could find an interesting player that way.
I think just from the NIL perspective, I made the joke earlier to Matt, like the best way to get a pay increase is just leave your job, right? Go to a different one. It's not like a different role. It's just like go do the same thing somewhere else. That's the best way to get a pay increase these days. And I mean, you'd be crazy not to try it, but this 20 million thing going on, you said next year, right? So like if you're a quarterback that's good, why would you not, try it out and see what happens?
Well, one QB that might be heading into the portal rumors, some whispers today. Dylan Raiola in Nebraska. His brother decommitted from Nebraska. I think it was last week. It was within the past 10 days. And a lot of the people around Nebraska were like, this isn't a thing that's really to worry about. For anybody that doesn't know, Dylan Raiola's brother, Dayton, is not a highly rated kid. Like, he was never going to play there. They have a very highly rated kid in 2027 class. Trey Taylor, I think is his name, who's like a borderline 5-star kid. So it probably wasn't ever going to happen there for him. But there's some rumors today that he might be leaving.
Yeah.
What do we think about that? I mean, he's obviously his season was ended with an injury, but I don't think it's a terribly serious one.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this. We talked a little bit about this, I think, behind the scenes recently, Austin, and when the news came out about Dayton, I still think that matters.
Like, such a good point too.
We've seen that's older, younger, that are just not quite as talented. I think that Dylan Raiola. Hang on, I think
you came back a little bit there. There we go.
You are struggling on the internet connection.
Your internet speed is as fast as Dylan Raiola.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. I am as fast as Dylan Raiola. Anyways, I do. At this point, I kind of wonder if it's not the smart move for him to at least test the market and go out there and see. I don't know that Nebraska has done a lot for him. It was kind of one of those things where we were a little bit shocked that he went to Nebraska. We got it from the, what's the legacy part of it, right? Like I believe it was his father and his uncle both played at Nebraska. So I got it from the legacy side of things, but he was once committed to Georgia, was once committed to Ohio State before eventually settling there with Nebraska. I don't know what schools would be looking for a quarterback next year. I'm trying to think of like the top end schools like in the playoffs. I mean, maybe it sounds like Dante Moore is, I don't think he's announced it, but it sounds like he's coming back to Oregon. Alabama's going to have Keelan Russell. Georgia's probably sticking with Gunnar Stockton. Texas A&M's probably sticking with Marcel Reeves. Ohio State's sticking with Julian Sands. So like maybe Indiana, Fernando Mendoza goes to the NFL after this. Like maybe Dylan Raiola goes to Indiana and Curt Cignetti's able to kind of build his stock up. Because I don't think that right now, if you were an NFL team looking at Dylan Raiola, you're like super thrilled with what I think he's been fine, but not quite what we hoped he was going to be. So if I were him, I think the prudent move on his part is to at least explore. I'm not saying you have to go into the portal, but maybe put some feelers out behind the scenes and seeing like if anybody's interested in my services.
Yeah, he doesn't. I think he'd be crazy not to try it out. It doesn't feel like Nebraska is helping him. Like it doesn't feel like the system is necessarily all that special. His numbers are actually really pretty solid. Not from like a fantasy perspective, but from like a raw number perspective potentially. But like he does need to try somewhere else. It feels like maybe, like the Miami always is going to need a quarterback, maybe something like Miami, or like maybe he replaces the guy that, like you kind of said, like goes to the draft, like Indiana, or, where does Sellers stay? Does Sellers go? And if that happens, maybe he gets into the SEC that way, like I feel like at some point it's loyalty to your dad's school is cool, but I think it would behoove him to try somewhere else and try his better luck elsewhere.
LSU is another one that comes to mind instantly, depending on what that coaching situation looks like. Could be a number of names in there, but I think he'd fit with a lot of them. I think the rumors of him leaving are why you do not give a increased buyout and extension to the head coach who's there at the time to keep him from going to another school. That was my takeaway when I read this. I was like, that they signed him, that they re-signed Matt Rule because, at least in part, he had brought in a 5-star quarterback who had been pretty solid for them. I mean, it's probably the best pure QB play they've gotten in, I don't know, a long time. I mean, who was the QB that they had there for years?
Adrian Martinez.
Yes, I was thinking Hernandez is the last name. Yes, Adrian Martinez. Like, and before, like they haven't had a real QB there in a very long time. And so it felt like that was part of what kept Matt Rule there. But that was my takeaway. I don't really care where Raiola goes. I think I think you'll have dozens of suitors. But I'm just pounding the drum all offseason. I will be like, I would not offer Lane Kiffin more money right now if I'm Ole Miss. I would not offer Eli Drinkwitz more money if I'm Missouri. I would not have offered more money to Matt Rule at Nebraska. I mean, I can just go down the list of names. There are maybe 4 coaches in the country that I would give more money to keep them from being plucked, and the rest of them, okay.
I feel like Lane Kiffin, you could. I mean, it doesn't feel like every year he gets it, but he does well. Like he's made Ole Miss a program. I would do it for Lane Kiffin. I wouldn't do it for the rest, like you mentioned. It feels like that is how you get into the insane buyout. Like we just made one hell of a mistake and we're in trouble for 7 years because of it. Like sometimes you just hire the bad guy, and then sometimes you extend somebody off of a fluky year, and then all of a sudden 2 years later you're in a horrible position.
Yeah, I agree with your overall point, but I think I would leave Lane Kiffin out of that conversation. I mean, he's done a very good job at Ole Miss. I think I would offer him more money to stay. And if I'm being, man, you mentioned Drink and Rule are very interesting because I don't know who Nebraska could get that's better than Rule. Like I don't know who they would bring in. When's the last time Nebraska's been this? I shouldn't say successful because they're not necessarily, but like at least somewhat decent. Because Scott Frost was horrible for them. I forgot who they had before.
With the amount of money that's on the table, you can't let be the enemy of we're scared to, let this guy go because we might, instead of being 8-5, be 6-6. Like I know that's easy to say from my perspective, because I'm not the one that's head is on the line if one of the, but you can't be giving out the kind of buyouts that people are giving out right now. I mean, these are all people thought the Jimbo extension was reasonable until it wasn't. I mean,
wow, it's just that's because winning a national championship in college football seems to buy you just like all kinds of ungodly trust, and I think there was a lot of us that were very questionable about the Jimbo hire and how that was not a smart move to begin with. So I will say that I would not put Rule and Drink up there, but I would say I would be willing to give Lane Kiffin more money with how good he's been at Ole Miss.
What is Lane Kiffin? I think
he leaves, Ole Miss sucks.
What is Lane Kiffin? Like, what's going to happen to Ole Miss if they keep Lane Kiffin? Like, they're not going to just start losing games. They've been kind of in the same holding pattern of 8 to 10 wins for the last, for their entire time, right? Like I don't think extending them makes them all of a sudden complacent and they start losing more. There's not a change in the SEC that is pushing them to lose more games. I feel like if anything, it almost helps with some of the things that have happened, a potential shift to really just awful teams and non-con and stuff like that. I don't know how they would ever regret an extension. It's just a matter of are we doing this just to do it, or do we actually need to do it to save him?
Yeah.
Bo Pelini was the coach that was good at Nebraska. He had 7 seasons of 9+ wins. They were more relevant before Arkansas was. Yeah. More recently, at least. But yeah, Mike Riley, isn't he the Oregon State guy, or was the guy that just got fired at Oregon State, or wasn't he recently there?
Yeah, he was just recently there. He wasn't the guy that he was there before Jonathan Smith, right? I think. And then
I believe so. Yeah.
Came in, and I don't know. I forget who they canned this year, but yeah. Sounds like, speaking of which, Oregon State's hiring Montana State's head coach. Be lying if I said I knew that much about him, but apparently he's been involved with both Carson Wentz and Josh Allen's development in college. So interesting grab for them. I don't have anything prepared to discuss that. I'm assuming you guys don't.
I think if you're an Oregon State, you're a Washington State, you're one of those Northwestern schools, the best idea is to just go grab North Dakota State's coach, or one of those FCS perennials. That feels like a great call to me. Montana State always is in the semifinals or something like that. So his overall record's been great. I think that's a great hire. Just go get somebody that knows the area and has won games,
And hope it works out for you better than Stanford's, because didn't Stanford go get that Sacramento State guy? That did not work out.
Different.
Yeah, but
for other reasons.
Different.
Taylor,
Yeah,
well, it didn't work out. I wouldn't put Sacramento State in the same vein as like the North Dakota State.
Yeah, North Dakota State's a little bit different. Yeah,
perennial like contenders for an FCS championship.
Yeah,
but yeah, Troy Taylor did not work out. That is correct. I think on the field as well as off the field, if you want to be really.
Yeah, it was a disaster both sides. Yeah, it was not good either way.
Speaking of California schools, real quick, did you guys think that Wilcox was going to get fired this week from Cal?
No.
That actually
a little bit out of left field.
Surprised me quite a bit. I mean, I know they lost to a bad Stanford team, but
yeah,
he's been there for longer than I remembered.
Well, I mean, what was it? What's his name? Ron Rivera just took over as the quote unquote GM though this year, right? It was like this off season that he kind of became the GM. So maybe it's one of those things again where we've talked about this more from like an NFL perspective, because GMs and all that stuff is kind of now starting to make its way into the college football landscape. It has for some schools for the past couple of years, but more and more like whatever the word is I'm looking for here. Maybe it's just not his guy. Maybe he just doesn't believe in Justin Wilcox, so he's trying to get in a guy that he believes is better.
There was, for anybody that's not that familiar with the politics at Cal, and I don't mean like the Calgorithm meme stuff from last year. There was actually quite a large power struggle behind the scenes this year, and I don't know if this was like a proxy war in terms of like there were different boosters that really wanted Ron Rivera to be the coach / GM. And I don't know if this was like Ron Rivera in their ear saying like, lobby for me on my behalf, or if this was just them lobbying for Ron Rivera. He's a Cal guy. I think he played at Cal, if I remember that correctly, but he's been involved with Cal in a couple of different ways over the years. So I don't know that it comes from that perspective that far out of left field. But a lot of people were saying, they were going to withhold their money coming into the year, that they weren't going to, donate whatever. So, maybe that just ended up winning out at the end of the day.
He's made some questionable hires. Like, how is Wilcox the guy that gets fired when you also have Rolovich and Brian Harsin on your staff? Like, that just feels like the good guy just got canned, and the bad, like the more toxic guys are still there just chilling.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yes, Rivera was.
He was. Yeah, I can't imagine why you would put Rolovich in charge of a program. Don't hire assholes. I just don't understand.
Well, that probably thins out the coaching pool. But
I mean, most of the good coaches, like good coaches, are not, I think, behind the scenes considered assholes.
Yeah, I think they're in certain ways they are, but not in the way that those guys are.
Yeah. That's a different.
Sticking with Cal real quick. Yeah. And Daniel, we see your question. We'll answer that here in just a second. You think we didn't see it?
Don't speak for
Jeremiah Love trade. Oh, sorry. I saw it, Daniel. I'll answer it for you here in a second. Do we have any fear that this might JKS back to the portal?
Why is there
coach?
Why is there fear?
I mean, he said that he would go. I mean, he's not been horrible. He's been good-ish.
That's what I'm saying. He's been good. He'll go somewhere else and be the starter. I don't know why I would.
Well, I'm talking about for Cal, because like we I made it an impassioned plea as a Cal front office member earlier this year about JKS staying here because this felt like home. I don't know if it was because of specifically because of Wilcox, but he did mention like Wilcox made it feel like home. All these other things, why he ended up transferring back. So I think if you're a Cal fan, I don't know if there's many out there. No offense. I don't know if you're a little worried about JKS possibly hitting the portal now.
There's 0% chance that he's their starting QB week 1 of the 2026 football season, right? Maybe 5%.
Clip it. Clip it, folks. He said 0%. Clip it.
If you're at school like Cal and you fire your coach knowing all the other jobs that are currently open, they have to have a couple names in mind that they feel good about actually saying yes to their program.
I think it might be Rivera.
Yes, Ron Rivera.
Yeah, I think it might. Yeah, Ron Rivera's like, the guy that I want for this job is real interested.
Let me go give him a call real quick.
It's
I don't know if I think that will work out, but go for it.
You guys ever seen Horrible Bosses?
Yeah.
Where Kevin Spacey's character comes in and he's like, I finally figured out who's going to be this. It's me. I'm going to knock down this wall, make my office bigger. It's exactly what's going to happen with Ron Rivera. It's like, I decided I'm the best candidate for the job. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that would be my prediction. We will get to this question, Daniel. Sure. Daniel in the chat asked, would you guys trade Jonathan Taylor? That went totally out of my mind. Jonathan Taylor for Jeremiah Love straight up, I presume, in some sort of C2C league. I mean, as with anything, it just depends on what the context of your team is. But in a vacuum, sure, why not? You're just setting the clock back 5 years. Why not?
I would want Taylor, wouldn't you?
I would.
I mean, if you're not if I had a team that isn't competing this year, I'd traded Taylor away in a league where I wasn't really competing this year.
I'd have to be like 2 years away for me to trade Taylor for Love.
I don't necessarily mind trading away stud running backs in like their big year when they're like 27 years old. You're getting half of the price you would have got for Saquon last year.
I think Taylor is going to be so good, though. It's hard to say, right? But I think he's still going to be so good for another couple of years. But I think I would say I agree with Chris. If you're a couple of years away from competing, I don't mind it because, as Austin said, you're kind of resetting the clock. You're going to get Love, hopefully, through your years of competing. But if I'm like in the playoff race, there's no way. I was going to cuss. Austin, I thought I had, because you cussed earlier this week. I was very surprised.
I said asshole 10 minutes ago.
Okay, so, even better. You did, yeah, but this time it was a big one. It wasn't even like a hiding it like I tried to last week. You full on just dropped it. Yes, if that's the case, if you are rebuilding because your team is booty cheeks, Daniel, I am making that trade right now. I might try to get more for JT than just Jeremiah Love. I think you could, but
try to get something else on top of that. But yeah, I think in that scenario it makes sense. I mean, there's a shot that the reason why I'd be cautious is because like, what if Love goes to some crap situation, like when Charbonnet went to the Seahawks and all of a sudden it was like less cool.
Or Genty.
I mean, Genty went to a bad situation and he was still valued right around a top 15 to 16 and a dynasty startup pick this offseason.
Yeah, but he's also been pretty average.
I mean, I'm just saying, this is if it's just a sheer value proposition, yes, I think this offseason Jeremiah Love will be drafted earlier than Jonathan Taylor in startups. Whether you agree with that,
I wouldn't mind doing it. If you're in the so he's saying he's in the championship side on the college. Daniel, I would try to get a college piece as well if you could. I think you could add something else on to Jeremiah Love for JT, especially with the year that he is having. I'd probably aim for better than Wingo personally, but I don't hate it.
We're the wrong crew to try to pitch a Wingo trade
on the podcast.
In that realm, yes, in that realm, yes.
Yeah. For the podcast, folks, he said I'm trying for Love and Ryan Wingo because I just I realized if Felix were here, he'd be yelling at us for not reading the comments.
Maybe he meant Samorian Wingo, the true freshman wide receiver going to Miami next year.
Maybe.
I don't know who that is. You just made up a name to me.
4-star kid. We do not like him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that probably answers that then. Coaches being retained. I wanted to touch on this just real quick. We've had a bunch of coaches already that have kind of gotten the AD to come out and say, this coach will be our coach going into 2026. By my count, there's been at least 5 of them. If anybody else has any, feel free to add them to the list. Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. Well, actually, they haven't confirmed it.
It just feels like it should have happened already.
He's on the list. I think he might get fired.
I think he's going to get. I think he probably gets fired, but that buyout is crazy. Did you read what I put in there for the buyout?
That buyout does not feel that bad, depending on what the offset language is. The buyout is $500,000 a month for the next 5 years.
You think they're going to want to pay $30 million?
But it is offset language, and depending on
who is hiring Jonathan Smith after this?
You don't think
if he is, his contract,
even get a coordinator job?
Well, okay, what's he getting paid for as a coordinator? Like $5 million over 5 years? Like, then Michigan State's still on the hook for $25 million in theory, right? Unless there's some weird language, like you're kind of saying.
That is not that much money.
I think for a
College
program like
football.
Michigan State that hasn't done anything to bring in anything other than Aiden Childs and keep Marsh, I think that could be considerable amount of money.
Could he get? Well, no, never mind. I would say, wonder if he would go back to the West Coast.
I mean, I think you would have.
I actually don't disagree with Kay. I think there's Austin. I think there's a chance he does get fired. I think they're waiting to see who else might be available at the end of the season and then just letting him go. Because this has been an abject failure. For as much excitement as there was for him coming over to Michigan State, this has not been good at all.
The problem with waiting to see who's available is you're going to kill yourself in the recruiting game, right? Like if you wait too long, then like you just hurt yourself on the recruiting side of things, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what they did with Smith, though, right? I mean, when did they hire Smith? It was toward the end of the season, wasn't it? I think there was I think there was only one game left, so it'd been right around this
during
time.
the season, because then all the players had a fit. There was like the huge thing about how he left, and
but it was like right at the end, right? Because wasn't it during the I forgot what their rivalry is with Oregon a couple years ago. It was toward the end. It was like I think there was like 1 week left in the season. I do remember that because then he was kind of like,
I think there were multiple.
I don't remember. There was a whole maybe it was that, but I don't know. They also had to let the coach go. I forgot what his name is now at this point.
Mel Tucker. There may be some very interesting second round of the carousel names floating around for jobs, though. I'm just throwing that out there.
I feel like I can't really think of too many exciting names for, I was going to say real schools, for big programs. That to me, it's like, what is Michigan State's like end game? Like, what are they hiring? Like a coordinator that's like kind of interesting but unproven, and like not all that sexy of a name? Or are they hiring like the Toledo coach? Like what are they actually like? What could they actually hire? Because even if they do pay the buyout, they're not going to have enough money to pay a lot of money for a great name. There's the NIL ends somewhere. The money at the boosters ends somewhere. They have a couple really big alumni, but it's a lot of money.
That's a good point.
We'll see.
Other coaches that are actually on this list: Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, and maybe for good reason. Maybe they knew something we didn't because they went out and won this past weekend. Mike Loxley at Maryland.
2 weeks in a row against ranked opponents, by the way. 2 weeks in a row, Wisconsin has been winning games.
Yep. Dave Aranda at Baylor. That one is just stupid. Makes no sense. And then did they officially say Belichick will be back for next year? I know he turned down he said he's not going to the Giants. I don't know what that means. He's definitely going to be back next year.
I mean, they haven't said anything. I mean, I wonder if all this other stuff going on might also be a big thing in forcing him out the door too. But I don't know. Right now, they gave him a vote of confidence after like week 2. Then, as far as I know, nothing's changed on that. He said he's not going anywhere. They said they want him to stay. So I don't know that that's changed.
So fun fact with Wisconsin, because I love their offensive fun facts. There's only 2 schools in the country, period, that have scored less points than them in conference. Can you name them?
Scored less than them in conference?
Yep.
Syracuse.
They play in a conference of 2 teams.
Huh.
Washington State and Oregon State are the only 2 teams that have scored less points in conference than Wisconsin.
Wow. Yikes. They beat 2 ranked teams. 2 ranked teams.
Weren't we just talking about this? And somebody on this show said that really their big problem is they just messed up the QB position this year. That this team wasn't that bad outside of that. Like,
I'm pretty sure that was you.
Oh, it was me. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it was me? Oh, okay. Just saying. The Aranda thing is the one that makes no sense to me. I would have kicked him to the curb over a year ago. I think he's a terrible coach. I think he has no idea what he's doing. They don't recruit well. You're in the middle of Texas, man. Like, even feeding on scraps, everybody else is scraps. You should be recruiting better than you are.
Well, they should have fired him last year after the whole Colorado debacle, but then because he turned around and won a couple games,
I would have gone down there and fired him in the tunnel after that game. I would not have let him come back to coach any more games.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
You would think you'd get more out of what Baylor and TCU both. I feel like you should have gotten more out of what actually happened. I was at the very beginning of the show when we talked about Morris going to Oklahoma State. In my head, I was like, man, when was the last time like a Gundy, obviously, but I was like, man, what Big 12 teams fire their coaches all the time? Like, it doesn't feel like they get fired. Is that just like a feeling, or is that actually true? Because Gundy got fired.
I mean,
but I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, it'll be. You would think Dykes would be gone soon. You would think that Aranda would have been gone, but at least one of those is safe.
Has Dykes done a bad job? I don't know. I think Hoover's
I don't think so.
hurt.
Yeah, but I think TCU fans are real unhappy about how this whole season has played out.
I mean,
and his coach quotes are awful.
Here's the thing, though. I'm trying to remember. Was Dykes the one who took him to the playoffs a couple years ago, or did he come in right after that?
That was him.
I mean, he bought himself some time. I understand they got blitzed by Georgia in the national championship. They went to the national championship. They beat the next year national champion, that team up north, Wolverines. So I think he's got a little bit of time.
That's a good point. I'm like Dave Aranda, who's low down, no good, and has done nothing at Baylor.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But he also only, after the playoff appearance, he won 5 games. And then last year he won like 10 games maybe. This year he's at 7 wins. Like, I think the expectations are higher. They probably won't get rid of him because of the same problem I've mentioned, for my opinion, for everybody, which is like, you're not anywhere near the top of this list. So who are you going to replace him with? Like, is it actually better? But it wouldn't surprise me. I keep seeing stuff all the time about TCU fans that are just livid with his coach quotes and post-game stuff.
Yeah. TCU feels like one that plays at their level, though. I don't know. I have not been like, I guess your fans may have expectations, but like news flash for some fan bases out there, just that's what it is for us, non-Ohio State,
Georgia Bamas.
Yes. I mean, that's what it is. But Pitt fans that want to get rid of Narduzzi, I'm like, okay, who are you hiring that's better than him? And I mean, we go on a run every couple of years. He recruits pretty well.
I think the main thing with TCU fans, you've got to realize, someone who lives here in the state of Texas, is like, you're just raised and conditioned, no matter where you live in Texas, to be a UT fan for the most part. And that is just kind of the biggest driving factor for a lot of those kids down here too. I think it's hard for TCU to recruit, especially with where the campus is located and everything. So for what Dykes has done, it's literally in the middle of downtown Fort Worth. It's not
Is that bad?
It's great. I guess. I have to be very careful with my wording right now because someone just walked toward the room. So no, it's not bad. It's a very interesting area.
Is it the mayor of Fort Worth? Who cares?
I think it does matter for where you're going to school and everything.
I don't know anything about Fort Worth. Is it a dump?
Austin's
a dump?
It's not a dump, but it's not Austin. It's not 6th Street.
Yeah, but like, people don't consider Georgia Tech a negative for being in downtown Atlanta. Like, it's just kind of like an urban school. Like, it's just
downtown Atlanta. It's downtown Fort Worth is fine. It's nothing special. No offense to anyone who lives in downtown Fort Worth.
I guess I just don't exactly know what you're insinuating here about Fort Worth. I've never been there. I know nothing about Fort Worth.
You're going to TCU for one reason, and it's not the school, and it's not the overall city scenery.
You're going for a different type of scenery.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I'm trying to say it without saying it. Thank you, Chris.
Why are we talking about having problems recruiting?
It feels like a major plus.
Arizona and Arizona State have made national championship rosters in basketball off of that.
You're competing with Austin. That's why. And you just
I'm telling you right now, I've seen TCU up close and personal when I worked at the Hall of Fame, and there's nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it. They are top notch. Should we talk playoff?
Yeah, we should shade subjects. Let's talk playoff. Top 25? Top 25. Got both graphics, whichever you want to go to.
I did not get my top 25 in, so I'm interested to see what you guys did this week.
I forgot what I did this week, so
you didn't, which is why you'll see a very interesting shift in some of the rankings here because of that.
Matt, are these just your rankings?
No, it's mine and Chris's. But like for instance, Alabama dropped because you didn't have them. Like me and you had them in the same range, but Chris had them a little bit lower. So Alabama dropped this week because of that. I had Pitt in, but Georgia Tech stays in because Chris had them ranked higher than I had Pitt. So just some SMU.
No, Georgia Tech ranked higher than Pitt.
Oh yeah, why not?
I mean, head-to-head's not like the end-all, be-all, but it literally just happened, and they kind of kicked their asses.
Full body of work, Austin. I'm a big picture guy.
I'm confused, but I'm not going to get that upset about Pitt not being in there.
For what it's worth, I had. For what it's worth, I had Pitt in the top 25.
Thank you, Matt. I know who my real friends are around here. It looks like, let's see here. I mean, for just for the record, real quick, did either of you have any problems with the actual top 25 CFP playoff rankings? This lines up pretty close with them. They feel in real life pretty good to me. The only people that are complaining about it are specific fandoms that feel like they've been, spurned, like BYU and Texas and in Miami. Like, spoiler alert, I think they're all ranked appropriately.
Well, Miami's 11 in the playoff, but like they're not. They can't actually make it unless someone in front of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is not going to happen. So why it is interesting to look at the bracket and talk about it when it's like, well, Ohio State's Indiana is not going to be 1 and 2 because they're going to play each other most likely, right? Like 3 and 4.
I don't. If those two make it. If those two make it to the Big Ten championship, is what it sounds like they're going to, and it's a close game, and like A&M loses or doesn't win convincingly, I think there's a pretty strong argument that you could still see Indiana and Ohio State 1 and 2 because they've said that they don't really want to let the conference championship games. They don't want to penalize teams. For losing those games.
They don't penalize teams for that game. So I think I'm with Austin. If Indiana gets blown out, maybe they drop out of 2. I don't think that they will, unless it ends up like a Texas A&M Alabama game, and Texas A&M just beats the doors off Alabama and they jump Indiana. I think that those 3 might be kind of locked in to those 3, if assuming Texas A&M wins.
You think that A&M will still be 3 if they're 13-0? Is what you're saying?
It'd be an interesting discussion. I think it depends on I think it depends on how those championship games. Let's say the championship game scores are Indiana beats Ohio State 23-20.
Okay.
And A&M beats Alabama by a field goal as well.
There's no way a 13-0 SEC team is going to be below a 1-loss Big Ten team. There's no way.
If the 1-loss teams, I just said if Indiana beat Ohio State, I think there's a real chance that they would.
I mean, there's no way. There's the SEC bias is too real, and that means they're going to add a win over Bama. Like it just, to me, there's not a shot you would have an undefeated SEC behind 2 Big Ten teams.
Does it functionally matter that much?
It doesn't really. I think it doesn't at all.
I think it does. On different side. I think it matters because of the sides of the bracket.
They would be on the exact same side of the bracket.
2 on the opposite side. No, 1 and 2 are on the different sides.
Or we're talking 2 and 3. 2 and 3 is really the only thing that would be impacted. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. No, then that doesn't really matter. I mean, outside of, I guess you technically would get the possibly better matchup being the 2, but no, on that side of things, no, my bad. I thought you were talking about the 1 and 2. My bad. Yeah, no, 2 and 3 doesn't make a big difference.
You'd kind of prefer to be the 4, do you think? Or if you're not, wasn't it last year where it was like, man, it would actually be better to be the 4 than any of the others because of how the auto bids worked? Is there a preferred bid, like a preferred seed to have?
I mean, it's really just, I don't know that we'll know that until we actually get the bracket. Now that there's no guaranteed locked in top four, like that, the four conference champions got the top four or whatever, or the top five or whatever, because that shifted some stuff. Like Boise was in a spot that they shouldn't have been in because of how they allocated the seeding last year, and we won't necessarily have that problem this year.
Yep.
I think I don't think I'd want the 4 this year, because I don't think the G5 team has really any shot of beating who is going to be 5th.
No.
And then you're just playing the next best team. I think I'd prefer the 2, obviously, shocker. But because then you get the 7-10, and then you would face the 3 potentially, but it would be after they would play a game already.
I mean, in this scenario, the 7-10 is Oregon and Notre Dame. And
I mean,
if Oregon gets a little healthier over the next few weeks, I do not want to play that Oregon team. We do not want to play that Oregon team.
The only reason I would think, if you're like, for instance, if it stays this way in your Texas Tech, and why you would be happy having that 4 seed is, again, you probably, for almost a certain fact, know you're going to be playing Georgia in that second round. That gives you multiple weeks to prepare for Georgia. The chances of, for us, it's James Madison is that G5 team right now. The chances of James Madison upsetting Georgia, like, you can go all in on prep for Georgia. We talked about this last week. I think it's a very interesting matchup. I think I would much rather play a Georgia team that I think is more beatable than, like Austin said, if it's an Oregon team that all of a sudden is healthy and you're Indiana going up against them. Granted, yes, you beat them early in the year, but it wasn't that close. I mean, sorry, there was a 10-point win for you on the road, but again, that was with Oregon already starting to deal with all those injuries and everything. So
I don't know how much I want the bye, to be quite honest. Because didn't all the teams with the byes get smacked last year? Or most of them?
Who won the Big Ten last year?
I mean, I know Oregon did. Oregon got beat down by Ohio State in that game.
I was going to say, so Ohio State whooped Tennessee.
I'm trying to remember.
I couldn't remember what round.
Georgia lost to Notre Dame.
Yeah,
they get whooped, but they lost.
Extenuating circumstances, though.
I think there's a lot of appeal to the 5 seed because you get the G5 team, and then you avoid having all that time off. Georgia's going to have a ton of time off because they're not going to play in the conference championship game. So they're going to be done this weekend, and they won't play again for 22 or 25 days, something like that. That, to me, is a little bit – the preparation part is definitely nice, Matt, for sure. But it's like almost too much time off. It's not good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I said, like, with the 4 seed, because Texas Tech, like, you're going to be playing in the Big 12 championship game. And I think it's a month regardless that most of those teams get off. Like, it doesn't go straight into the playoffs. You get 3 weeks. So, I mean, everybody's taking a little bit. Oh, yeah, you like this? You like my ACC champ there, Austin? I had to pick an ACC champion. I picked the Pitt Panthers, baby.
Pitt has, like, no chance to make the ACC championship game.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? They're going to beat Miami today. They're going to beat Miami this weekend. And then
is SMU losing to Cal, or is Virginia losing to Virginia Tech? Because those are the options. I don't know that I'm playing that parlay this weekend.
Both of those happening.
I just want everyone to know I had nothing to do with what is on.
I feel pretty good about that. I picked Pitt. Deal with it. Y'all didn't want to jump in here. Y'all didn't want to jump in and help me, so I decided to pick.
You didn't even ask.
The ACC since I got roasted last week for not having an ACC.
I'm not looking at this, guys. We're not doing this.
That's fair. What are you talking about? Pitt right now. Hey, whoa, hold up. I'm looking. No. I am looking at the standings right now. Pitt is in right now as the second team in the ACC.
No, they're not.
The standings don't work they don't incorporate the tiebreaker.
Virginia. You're looking at one of those Virginia losses, and it's not actually a conference loss, even though it was to a conference team.
Okay, so
that makes no sense. But they lost to NC
State
in a non-con.
Yes, the NC State game for Virginia was considered a non-conference game.
Yeah.
Virginia wins, they're in, and then
SMU
wins, they're in.
If SMU loses, but SMU's going to lose. Yeah, JKS game, JKS revenge game for whatever reason. They fired my coach. Yes, watch this happen. I'm going to be blowing you up all day Saturday when SMU loses to Cal and Pitt beats Miami and Pitt makes it in the playoffs. So then they are, folks, the 11th seed, as I have listed on this bracket. I think they beat Ole Miss, they beat the Aggies, but then they lose to Indiana.
I had nothing to do with
Indiana in the national championship game.
What a logo selection too, by the way.
Oh, I love that logo. It's sick.
Do you really? I like the colors.
I like the
actual logo.
those.
Yeah, their rebrand a couple years ago is pretty nice. They had in the early 2000s was just
the
awful.
Fitzgerald years were just
so bad.
Criminal. Yeah.
The Levance Field basketball years. Yeah, that was real bad. So
I think I'm gonna just start going with all those all the off-brand logos. I'm gonna get a Brutus the Buckeye for Ohio State. We got Puddles already up there for Oregon. I gotta find that crappy Wolverine. Well, never mind. They're not gonna make the playoffs, so never mind. My bad.
Does Michigan? What is? I don't know. I can't even picture Michigan's mascot.
It's a Wolverine.
Wolverine.
I mean,
I don't know.
He's got his little
that.
vest on with the M on it.
Yeah, badgery looking cat thing.
He looks scarier than the Wisconsin Badgers one. Yeah.
I don't think the Badger is supposed to look scary. Yeah. I think he's supposed to look a little friendly, you know.
Badgers are assholes. It's all been told.
Not that one. Not that one.
That's
all right,
true.
well, that's gonna do it.
He's wearing a sweater vest. Very friendly, actually.
There's nothing friendlier, in fact, than a sweater vest.
He's all business.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's show, guys. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time, and quite frankly, it's the night before Thanksgiving. He's been drinking for a while anyway. You don't want him out here. So we'll get him rescheduled for next week. But we might get sued for that. Who knows?
Ben's there though. Hey Ben.
Oh, of course Ben's there. Ben's also drunk.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Make sure you're checking out everything else over at campustocanton.com. From Matt and from Chris, from Austin. Happy Thanksgiving and good night and good luck.